I wanted the documentary to be called In Thoreau's Footsteps. And a lot of people that I've interviewed, local park rangers, local historians, local authors, they told me that's going to be kind of impossible because you'd have to walk out into the ocean. Climate change and the way the Cape Cod has changed in the last 170 years, you would have to walk about 200 yards out to the ocean. So you're not really going to be able to walk in his footsteps from point A to point B. Part of the goal of this is to see, can I find Thoreau's Cape Cod from what he saw back in the 1849 to 1850s.
My life is like a stroll upon the beach, as near the ocean's edge as I can go. My tardy steps its waves sometimes overreach. Sometimes I stay to let them overflow.
We have Thoreau's map of Cape Cod, and this was done in the 1850s, drawn by hand, copied from some other map. There's an incredible amount of detail here, but there are also some highly personal comments, and he's doing that thing that he does with the landscape. He interacts with it in a really personal way. He's looking at natural features, but he's also looking at the human landscape. I see Thoreau as an observer, and he's attempting to paint an accurate picture of the social landscape as well as the natural landscape. And I think it was important to him to get the positive and the negative, get it all down.
Cape Cod. It's a very odd travel book that starts off not even on Cape Cod, but in Cohasset, and not with some bucolic nature scene, but with a shipwreck and bodies on the beach. It's a very bleak beginning.
The first thing that happens in the book is he hears about a shipwreck, and he goes to look at the shipwreck, and he sees the dead bodies on the beach, and he's describing them very in detail. But then he goes further on his journey. He's heading to Cape Cod, and he's heading towards the Highland Light, which is the furthest you can get on the Cape, on the land. And for a transcendentalist like Thoreau, light is God, it is spirit, it is enlightenment. So he is traveling from basically a scene of death to God, to enlightenment. So he's creating a pilgrim's progress throughout that work. And so all of Thoreau's works really have a stronger metaphorical and symbolic meaning than they seem to on the surface. The shipwreck chapter is really quite fascinating in that Thoreau, one, stopped to look at the shipwreck, and he's heading down the Cape and he hears about the shipwreck. He reads a broadside that's been posted about it, and he goes to look at it and to see it. And the power of nature during that shipwreck, from a shipwreck is just astounding for somebody like Thoreau, who's more used to the calmness, I'd say, of the woods around Walden and in Concord. So it was quite an experience.
I know personally fishermen who have died, and there are many fishermen missing fingers and that sort of thing. So fishing itself is a very dangerous occupation, tough way to make a living.
He has this fascination with shipwrecks. 2 or 3 times in the book, he keeps talking about the shipwrecks and the wreckers who pick up the plant and recycle the old boats. And I get the feeling that when I looked at that as an overview, his preoccupation also betrays his own problems that he's facing in life. And he may have seen himself as a shipwreck. And so it's kind of a fascinating approach to say, okay, why was he worried about this?
It is that everything in an ecosystem like the one we have, that he saw early, that we see today, everything is changing. I suppose you could say wrecking. In some ways, it's an interesting connection to a shipwreck. Cape Cod is a very slow happening shipwreck that in another few thousand years will be vastly different. Its bones will be washed away. Behind Thoreau's writing, it was an indication of how tightly they were tied to this ultimately dangerous place.
Thoreau finds a nature or a wildness on Cape Cod that is a little more